Derek still has the newest chair, though. Sorry.
Oh, you know.
King of the castle.
So give us a highlight from your vacation. First of all, where'd you go?
Oak Island, North Carolina. It's like 40 minutes from Wilmington. So it's like 45 minutes from Myrtle Beach, I think. But we went fishing off the pier. I had not fished in as long as I can remember. So we went to the pier on Bailey's younger sister's birthday. She turned 10. The whole time I'm sitting there, I caught a fish on like my second reel. I thought it was really cool. I think I caught like 2 the entire day, basically because I just got bored and stopped doing it and just like sat there. But Bailey's 10-year-old sister caught a stingray. Her name is Emma. She is the one that was on the cheerleading team that I learned about recently. So they hook the stingray, and she yells. She's like talking to her dad. She's like I have something on my line. He thought she was just like joking with like how she was pulling. So he goes over, he reels it all the way in, and we see it's a stingray, and the line was going to snap. Like there was no way that they were going to get the stingray onto the pier. So the guy next to them it's like a younger guy, probably my age. He pulls up with a big net, and he leans down to put the net into the water to like pull up the stingray. His sunglasses fall off his face. Oh, no. So he loses, and I guess they're a cheap pair of sunglasses, but they pulled the stingray up. They get it onto the deck. They were like taking pictures with it and stuff, and then they got to figure out how to get it down without getting like the barb into them. Mm-hmm. So they couldn't just like push it off the pier because there was only like that much space. So they had to pick up the stingray, and I was going nowhere near that thing. I was not getting stung. They threw it back into the water. So I
caught a sunfish at camp.
I was about to ask.
Big.
I was about to ask. The only person here who struck me as possibly a fisher at one point in their life was Derek. But I was going to ask Brendan if this was your number one fishing experience, watching Emma catch the stingray.
Yeah, they caught a few baby sharks too. Bailey caught one. I didn't. I wanted to, but I guess that like if you reach in.
Wait, what?
Yeah, baby sharks off the pier.
Yeah. When you go fishing, you don't just catch like the one.
Yeah, but what do you
want.
do then?
Oh.
Do you set it free, release it back into the?
You cut the line, or you pull the hook out of its mouth.
So that way you can grow up to chomp down on
hopefully
all the other fish.
Hopefully pull the hook out.
I thought he was going to come back with some stories of him like wrestling an alligator.
No, I wanted to see one down there. I didn't see one, sadly. That would have been pretty cool.
I mean,
we went on a boat for a whole day. That was pretty fun. I can't remember. I drank like the first day I was there. I had like 2 beers and went in the water. I was like, I'm tired now, so I just didn't drink the rest of the time. I bought a thing of Coors Light. I was like, I'm not even having any of this.
Wow, you're growing up. You're getting to that age where you're I just want to sit in the beach.
My thing with beer is when I was 21, I weighed a lot more. Not a lot more, like 20 pounds more, and I didn't feel great about myself, and I drank a lot of beer at that point. Like, it was carbonated, it feels heavy in your stomach. Mm-hmm. So I had my fill of, like, drinking full 6-packs in one night then. Now, like, I only drink beer to get drunk, and I don't really like getting drunk. So I had a lot of Diet Coke.
Unless Kenny Chesney's in town.
Unless Kenny Chesney's in. I listened to him
when
on
are
the
we
way
getting
home.
the cowboy hat and the sunglasses?
The cowboy hat is at my apartment. I still need to move all my stuff out of there. So the sunglasses, I still have them. I actually wore a pair of sunglasses that weren't aviators down there for the first time. And like, I think I've only ever worn aviator sunglasses. So
the only time I've worn aviators is when I forget mine. I need to grab Mallory's. So
they look so much cooler than regular sunglasses.
Mike Tomlin sunglasses.
Give me baseball shades.
Yeah.
Derek, what's your best fishing story? The sunfish?
The sunfish from this 2 weeks ago when I was up at camp. They stock this pond. So if you fish off the dock there and you don't catch anything, you might as well just quit life, you know. So, my wife caught one. My son probably during the week caught like 7 or 8. But yeah, I caught a sunfish. I didn't spend nearly as much time with a line in the water as my son did. But yeah, I caught a sunfish. But you just catch it and throw it right back. Yeah. You know, we don't cook them. We don't do that. So it was just catch and throw back in.
I went to see buses crash one another last night when we got back.
Wait, what?
The school bus demolition derby.
Welcome to Eye on Sports, where we delve into the biggest Butler County sports topics. I'm your host, Butler Eagle Sports writer Derek Pyda. Joining me are fellow sports writer Brendan Howe and Eagle Sports editor Jake Merda Adams.
When are you seeing Aaron Rodgers again?
Friday night.
End of this month.
Cool.
So it'll be... Yeah, he said on the Pat McAfee show that once he's done with football, he's disappearing. So also the Mike, the guy I asked him the question about who's his favorite song. He's coming back to Pittsburgh. It's on a Saturday. I could go, but my brother can't, and Bailey doesn't want to. I'm not going to a concert by myself again. So
you should invite Aaron when you see him.
He's gonna be there already. He's best friends with the guy. So I'm not going.
Well, you should show up and be like, Aaron, what's up? Remember me?
I'm the
guy from the locker room.
That is so fanboyish. That'd be crazy.
On the Steelers talk that matters.
Show him your badge.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on the trade today?
I was gonna use that as my Beyond Butler.
Okay.
I wanted to hear what you thought.
Okay. We'll get to that later.
That conversation.
Yeah, we'll get to that later.
Yeah.
To wrap up the fishing stuff, we used to go deep sea fishing once a year. My dad's job, they would just get a company trip on a boat. So me and my brother and a friend, and sometimes we'd bring more friends, would go out for a whole day in New Jersey and bring a whole bunch of cherries and spit cherry seeds out or cherry pits out into the ocean as we're, going out to sea and then coming back. And we just catch big bluefish. Sometimes people will get a small shark or a ray or something like that.
We saw dolphins. I forgot about that. That was what was exciting about
legit.
the boat is I didn't have my glasses on, and everyone we're driving the boat back, and I'm sitting in the front. Bailey is tanning. She's laying down on her stomach, just getting some sun.
Good to know she was standing in her back.
No, everyone else is just on their phones and stuff, and I look out into the distance and I see. I was like, it's a dolphin. So they stopped and they turned the boat around and followed them, and we were trying to throw shrimp in for them. And we were next to dolphins for a good 20 minutes as they were fishing and just going slowly up and down. It was pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Never seen dolphins in the wild before.
I love dolphins. Have you seen dolphins?
Not in person, no.
No?
Yep.
In Hawaii, I took a catamaran up the Nepali coast, and I saw turtles and whales.
A zoo, but that doesn't count. I mean, they're trapped. They can't go anywhere. Let me out of here.
You're like, look, a dolphin. And they're like, yes, this is the dolphin enclosure.
The
and they always use the word enclosure, too. You're like, yep.
The traffic there didn't like me. We had a golf cart that only got up to 25, 30 miles
Yeah, that's probably
an hour.
safe. That's probably
we went
a good idea.
The store. There was there's a main drag on the island. And we were a street off of it, and I would just take the golf cart to the store. I didn't wear socks or shoes for a week. It was awesome. I felt good.
Oh yeah, I love that.
And then I would just turn on, and then there would be a string of 20 cars behind me, waiting until I turned. And the first time I was like, oh, I'm nervous. I don't want to make these cars mad. By the end of the week, I was like, I don't care if you have to wait. Too bad.
Brendan would have fit in the late 60s. He would have been a perfect hippie.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, you really would have.
I can't grow my hair out again because I'm not allowed. So.
Have you grown your hair out? Wait. You're not allowed to have longer hair here?
No, I'm not allowed because Bailey said I can't have it. So.
Oh boy, here we go.
Oh my gosh. Okay, listen.
How long's the list?
Valid.
How long's the list of things you can't do according to Bailey?
So what did she win
Shave
in
my
order?
beard and have long hair.
Let me ask you this: have you given her a list?
Yeah, I was just gonna say. Sorry, I'm gonna. Okay, so where's the balance? What's happening with
I don't care. It takes
Did
a while.
Did she win a bet or something?
No.
Joe Janko did the road race hair bun on.
Really?
Yeah, did he kind of had it pulled back. Jeez, had it kind of pulled back. Yeah. Joe Janko and our own Tracy Liturgy.
Oh, she did the road race again.
Yep.
Oh, awesome! I know last year was her first one. I think.
Last year when I covered that, it was 78 degrees and humid as heck at 9:00 in the morning. How bad was it on Saturday?
It was not. Honestly, it started out cool. I'd say maybe 70 and not too humid, and then after the race, we had showers roll through. Probably, I mean, the race got done with between 9:30 and 10, and by noon it was really storming here. But the humidity it wasn't that bad in the morning during the race. Thank God for the thank goodness for the race, because honestly, I'd rather run in 90-degree. Honestly, not that I'm a runner. I run to the bathroom. I'd rather run in 90-degree heat that's dry than 75 and humid any day.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
That was a little delayed.
I keep remembering things from vacations coming back to me, but we got Rambo a life vest and had him swim out in the ocean with us, and it was funny because he would he didn't get it at first, and then he started getting it, but he'd keep his head above water and he'd think he was about to go under, so he'd grunt to go. The noise coming through his nose was hilarious.
I've heard you make that noise before.
He got so used. He got so used to
we need
being
to record that noise.
he got so used to being a beach dog. I feel bad that I had to leave him in his bedroom today when I left. Like, sorry, buddy, but he had a time. He was getting food. Like Bailey's mom and like sisters were giving him food throughout the week. We
Just live in the lap of luxury.
We made Philly cheesesteaks for dinner the one night. We made burgers one night.
I think Jake will
Did you make them properly?
Yeah, I was gonna say. I think Jake will determine whether you made
steakums with caramelized onions and caramelized peppers, and then provolone cheese.
Oh no! Oh no!
Peppers are like borderline acceptable. You really should. A true Philly cheesesteak should not have peppers on it.
I liked it.
Don't you remember the conversation we had?
I put mayonnaise on it too.
This conversation.
No.
Don't you remember
That's
that?
not Philly cheesesteak now. That's not Philly cheesesteak now. It's a cheesesteak.
Bailey.
I mean,
so we had
he's from Philly. I don't know if we can really like
we had
argue.
pizza a few nights down there, and Bailey just got tired of pizza because hurts her stomach. The one night for dinner, and I'm gonna have her listen to this just so she has to hear it. She had.
But you didn't listen to our whole episode.
Listen, I didn't know how long you were gonna talk about movies for. I heard you judging Jake for going to see a Pixar movie or whatever it was.
That was me.
I went to Buzz Lightyear a few years ago. I like going to see those movies. I would go see Cars in theaters if they put it back in there. But
Derek's like, I didn't do nothing of the sort.
The one night we had pizza from Papa John's.
What?
We had pizza from Papa John's, and for dinner, Bailey had a bagel, avocado toast, or avocado bagel, like she'd mashed up, put lemon in it. Then the craziest part of this was she took a hamburger bun. She took the leftover caramelized onions from the night before, mayonnaise and dill pickle cheese, and made a sandwich out of it. Disgusting. I was like, you could not pay me to take a bite of that.
Oh.
It's gross. And she ate half of it. She's like, yeah, that's not good. So.
Speaking of avocados.
Yeah.
Wow.
Those have always been there.
I've never noticed them until today. Never noticed them.
Off camera for everyone not watching or can't see because the camera's not pointed. There are a couple of avocados in Laura's office that have been here for a while.
I think it's one avocado split in half, actually. So,
well, that just sounds darker.
I don't know if we've ever had a show where we have to get in as much information as we do today. So let's get
set
down
the show
to
up.
business.
So there's only one person at fault for
put
this.
this in 2 times speed. You'll get done quicker.
If you want to sound like chipmunks, by all means, I'll do that.
I listen to podcasts on 2 times speed every day.
We are going to announce our Spring Sports All-Stars. Jake, first of all, let's run through real quick when these are appearing in the paper. The boys tennis appeared a couple weeks ago. I know that.
Boys tennis was a couple weeks ago. By the time this episode drops, all of them will be out. We had boys volleyball on Monday morning. Tuesday morning was softball and baseball. Wednesday morning was boys and girls lacrosse. And Thursday morning today is track and field, which does have boys and girls in it, but it's one list because it's a co-ed sport basically.
So we're going to each take a few sports here and introduce them. We're going to start off with boys track, and I'm going to start off with our athletes of the year. That's right, it's plural. Regan Peth from Butler, along with relay teammates Aaron Stiebick, Jace Gratzmiller, and Carter Ekus. First teamers after that, Carn City's Griffin Boer, Monitaw's Ashton Grossman, Seneca Valley's Gavin Scarbeck and Dakari Payne, and Freeport's Michael Braun. Now, the reason that there's 4 athletes of the year on the boys' side this year is Butler's 4x4 team. This was a haul. This was their postseason, and they had a really good one. They won a Whitbill title by setting a Whitbill meet record, which was also a school record and an all-time Butler County record, by running 3:17:49 in the 4x4. Again, that's Regan Peth, Aaron Stiebick, Jace Gratzmiller, and Carter Ekus. And then they finished that off by placing 6th in the state. But the interesting thing about that is all the other teams that placed in the top 8 to medal were from no further west than Harrisburg. So it was like Harrisburg to Philadelphia, the other 7 teams. And then you got Butler from the far western end of the state earning a medal with those other 7 teams. So I thought that was pretty cool. Brendan, Boys track, a lot of accomplishments this year. What stuck out for you, either team-wise, relay-wise, individual-wise?
I think it's that relay that you mentioned, actually. I left the Whippeal meet early because we had a miscommunication. Rob and we thought that we were all done, that nobody else was going to win or had the chance to win. And then I got a text from someone, whether it was Jake or it was Mike Cyber, and told me, hey, we won. We set, I think it was a meet record. I was like, so I had to call them all up, and it was on the way home, and then I wrote the story from home. But, yeah, I'll always remember that 4x4 relay because of that. But, yeah, I got the chance to cover the Whippeal meet, and a lot of the same athletes that you mentioned there kind of stood out to me. But I'll always remember kind of driving home and hoping that I would get each of those guys on the phone in the next hour to write that story.
And you did.
I did.
The Whippeal record they broke was set by Penn Hills. I believe it was 15 years ago in 2010. Jake, what are your thoughts on boys track and the way it turned out for our area athletes this year?
Well, Seibert talked about even back in the indoor season, it was going to come down to how good could they be against those eastern half teams. So the fact that they were the top western half of the state team in that relay isn't much of a surprise if you're leaning on what Seibert's expertise is and following the numbers in the state. So I mean, a little unconventional. Derek really had to arm wrestle me to win me over on naming a relay as the player of the year, but there wasn't much of another choice, really. It's unconventional from a typical all-stars perspective, but that group, it's one event, and it's not a team necessarily. It's an event. Was deserving. I mean, they dominated all year until the state tournament, which that's a much different animal.
Yeah, school, district meet, and all-time Butler County records. So that's why 4 players will be recognized as athletes of the year on the boys track and field side. Moving on to girls track and field, this was an individual who was named athlete of the year. We got Mackenzie Magnus from Freeport. She won a Whippeal and PIAA title in the pole vault. She finished the year with school records in the pole vault and also the long jump. And behind her, on first team as well, with her are Butler's Aubrey Rock, Seneca Valley's Jordan Monteleone, Mars's Morgan Duker, Slippery Rock's Ava Rich, and 4 girls from North Catholic, Anna Lazara, Audra Lazara, Daphne Floral, and Siva Cresta. And the reason all 4 of those girls are on there, they had some individual accomplishments too, and I don't want to take anything away from what they did individually, but the foursome also won a Whippeal title and a state title, and the state title came with a school record and all-time Butler County record time of 48.06 seconds. You covered some track this year. What stuck out for you about these girls that made our first team?
I left you most of those girls, actually, because those girls at the Whippeal meet, the North Catholic girls you mentioned, and Magnus, they all stood out, but I don't think they won their events. Maybe they did, but I ended up writing about something different that day, so you're welcome to have something to write about there.
Sure, no problem.
Magnanimosity
There's the door.
Brandon, that's his thoughts on track. Hey, I helped you, Derek. That's my thoughts on track this season.
That's what was going through my mind when he mentioned them. I didn't get the chance to write about them. He did.
It was, Derek, correct me if I'm wrong. Did North Catholic win the girls' Whippeal title this year? I don't think they did.
Team?
Right? Yeah.
No. They lost in the semis.
With how good those top athletes are, and a few of them are going Division I, I was shocked that they didn't do better as a team.
I take that back. They made the final, but they lost in the final.
Okay.
They made the final, but lost in the final. When you look at, they're incredibly strong, obviously, in hurdles, the relay events, really good. They have, I think they medaled at Whippeals in all 3 relays, including the win in the 4x1. Really good in the track events and the jumps, also with the Lazaro twins. Really good there. They struggle in the throws, though.
Yeah.
And I mean, pole vault was, they had nobody really stand out in the pole vault. So I think that's when you get to the Whippeal Championship meet as a team, and Butler knows this because they've competed there many times. If you do have a weakness, other teams can exploit that.
Mm-hmm.
And when it comes to North Catholic, throw wise and pole vault wise. They just didn't have girls that could compete at an elite level to get those points that it takes to win a team championship. But in the events that North Catholic was really good in, they were also deep.
Yeah.
Very deep. I mean, really good sprinters. I think on our honor roll, they ended up with like 3 of the top 5 3,200 runners. I mean, in the whole county, like 3 of the top 5. So, they went to the Whitfield Championship meet, lost there, but obviously their individuals were able to shine both at the district and the state championship individual meets.
I think and I don't want to discredit what they accomplished as a team this year. Track's that weird sport that sometimes you can have like 3 or 4 athletes just carry you just because of the way that the points are distributed. And there were a lot of times this year, like covering regular season meets, where it's like, that is most teams, and obviously when you get to the teams that are actually capable of competing for a championship, that's not true. Most teams are not that deep. North Catholic is pretty deep, excluding the fact that their throws are definitely on the weaker side of things. That's a team that has more talent on its roster than most do, and you see that and go, okay, the Cresta's going to do well, Flora's going to do well, the Twins are going to do well, or the Sisters are going to do well. A couple seconds in Whitfields that can sometimes win it in some districts. This is a little bit me being naive to how what the talent level of Whitfield is and how it's spread out. But I remember seeing that sometimes, like, this looks like a district contender from my experience covering District 3 track. So I mean, still really good season, really good. Those girls were in particular really good. Obviously, most of them went to states and did various levels of good as well against very difficult competition. It was just one of the things that kind of stood out. I was like, wow, I thought that was a really good team compared to the Whitfield without seeing what the rest of the Whitfield was.
Well, the relay that set the school and all-time Butler County record, 48.06 in the 4x1. They're losing 2 of those girls. Cresta and Flora graduated. The 2 Lazaris twins are back, but it's going to be interesting to see. I know they have some younger talent that they can plug in. Now, are they going to be able to do exactly what this year's team did? That's going to be asking a lot. But they have other girls that are going to be able to, move into different spots. I expect them to be really good next year. The Lazara twins combined this year, those 2 girls, to combine for 6 events at the state championships, and they're only going to be juniors.
Yeah.
So that's, kind of a really good foundation to build around. And, of course, as I said, Mackenzie Magnus, our Athlete of the Year on the girls' side, Whitfield, and state titles in the pole vault. All right, my last one that I'm leading off with is softball, and I know this is going to surprise you, but we have chosen Lexi Hames from Seneca Valley as our Player of the Year. Now,
how could we?
17-3 record, .48 ERA. At the plate when teams pitched to her, which was not all that often, she had over 400 and smacked 7 home runs. Pennsylvania Gatorade Softball Player of the Year for the 2nd straight year. She's our Player of the Year. First teamers behind her teammate Abby Kalkowski, Knox Emerson Jones, and Grace Hench. North Catholic's Natalia Rushak, Butler's Lily Vicari, Karn City's Addison Burrows, Montauk's Lily Staub, Slippery Rock's Savannah Smith, and from Union AC Valley, Olivia Hartzell. One thing that you kind of look at, and there's several of these girls are coming back next year. A few are seniors, several are coming back. But you look at Emerson Jones from Knock. She was only a freshman this year.
Mm-hmm.
She led her team in pretty much every major offensive category: average, runs scored, RBI. She had 10 home runs this year. She played shortstop this year. And you talk about a coach, and Chris Gardner's the coach down at Knock, to kind of look ahead and say, okay, what are we going to have next year? When you have a girl like that performed that well as a freshman, and you've got her coming back for 3 more straight years, that's got to be a kind of a good security blanket, saying, okay, we have this. Let's try to build out, around it.
And she plays shortstop.
But it is a very
defensively premium position.
A very demanding position on defense. And they also have 2 really good pitchers, Kayla Purcell and I don't want to get the other girl's name wrong. Marley Fraser. I'm sorry. Marley Fraser and Kayla Purcell coming back. They're both going to be in the circle next year. They were very accomplished pitchers this year. Actually made our list as honorable mentions, but had very strong seasons themselves. So looking forward, I think Knox going to be a team to be reckoned with for the next few years. Brendan, softball, go.
Yeah, it'll be different that Seneca Valley, and this is very early to tell, obviously, that you figure that team is going to change a little bit with Lexi being gone and kind of on her way to Clemson there. It'll be different not thinking of them as the premier softball team in our county. Ever since I've been here. At least
not by default.
Yeah, by default. Every single year I've been here, it's been Seneca Valley's going to be the one to get to the WPIAL. And Knock has a chance to kind of go and do that over these next few years, especially having a star player like that. Like you mentioned, a freshman, you want someone young. I'm kind of thinking progress isn't always linear, so you don't want to kind of throw expectations on her that early, but she performed really well this year.
Emerson Jones?
Yeah.
Oh, incredible season. Jake?
I remember looking at through this list and kind of chipping away, like, who are the seniors that are graduating and everything, and Jones is, to me, the favorite for the next few years for player of the year here, county player of the year going forward. Yeah. Not saying that she's going to, like Brendan said, progression is not always linear, but that's really a freshman at shortstop putting up those stats. Like, does she get the Lexi Hames treatment going forward? She's hitting 10 bombs as a freshman. That's probably top 3 in the WPIAL.
Yeah.
Like, teams are going to have to treat her differently going forward. And so we'll see. We'll see what happens. How do they pitch around her? How do they pitch to her when they've got to pitch to her? How does she respond to that? But right now she looks like probably going into next season the best player in the county.
Yeah, and it just shows you, like, to us, she kind of burst onto the scene this year. Freshman, first year varsity player, but I guess I was talking to Chris Gardner earlier this year. I did that story on Knock right before the playoffs started, and to them, she was a known commodity. I mean, she had been playing travel ball for several years, really well too. So they knew she was going to be able to contribute, but that said, the level she was able to contribute. In fact, he gave me a quote about her. I think I ended up sticking in the story about, as a freshman, she was literally able to, like, lift that program to a different, a different level. And she's like, she's only a freshman. She's humble. She's just going out there and playing. She doesn't realize the impact she's had on the entire program. But yeah, she was really good at the travel level moving forward. And Chris Gardner's got her for 3 more years. So, like I said, Knox going to be a team to be reckoned with. As long as they can continue to build around her, they'll be in good shape.
Absolutely. Speaking of softball, baseball.
Take it, Jake.
Is
Tommy Pham on your all-star team?
No. I'm considering O'Neill Cruz. Shouldn't be too much of a surprise, although I'll get to this part in a minute here. Seneca Valley sweep player of the year for the Diamond. Ryan Pikatowski, third baseman and pitcher, senior for that team, is our player of the year. His stats were really good. There's a player that I'll get to in a moment who hit for a higher average than him, like an absurd average. But basically it came down to Seneca Valley won a WPIAL title. They did it in 6A. 6A generally is more demanding than any other classification, generally speaking. So he's got to put up 400 something average, and the amount of RBIs and runs scored. I don't have the stats in front of me because I prepared for this improperly. But he had to put up some big numbers against some really stiff competition. That team made it to the state quarterfinals, lost to the eventual state champion. So very deserving. 455 average, 4 home runs, 19 extra base hits. He was a monster in the playoffs too against some really good teams. First team. You're going to sense a trend here for those that know the rosters of these teams. Freeport's Kason Barker, Butler's Trent Best, Freeport's Michael Hans, Karn City's Jacob Jones, Mars's Kyle Kraus, Slippery Rock's Jacob Kunzman, Seneca Valley's Ryan Rebholtz, and Butler's Nolan Stefanik. A lot of pitchers, not a lot of outfielders, but that was kind of the way the cookie crumbled this year. And usually we try to balance it out and make it somewhat of a starting lineup, but you look at what the numbers were for our best outfielders, and then you compare it against the guys that played infield or pitched primarily, and it would have been really difficult to justify leaving off these infielders and pitchers off this team over some of these outfielders. Not to say that we didn't have some good outfielders there, but there was a huge imbalance of power, imbalance of talent towards the infield and pitching staffs this year. The biggest debate that we had a little bit with this was Hans versus Pyda. Hans hit over 600. Now, he missed a couple games this year, but when he came back, they went on a run. But again, it just kind of came down to, for me, Pyda saw stiffer competition and led a team to a Whitfield title, which I don't always want to be about wins, but that does have to be at least a factor in this discussion. So yeah, that was what we came out to. Brendan, you helped out with the baseball team on this one. Was reaching out to coaches for some of their stats and information and whatnot. So what were your thoughts on baseball first team?
I'm a little surprised coming back and seeing this. I thought Hans had like you said, he kind of vied with Pyda there for player of the year, but that was a really impressive year by him, especially there at Freeport. It makes sense with Pyda, with what Seneca Valley did and the run that they made. But I'll remember this baseball season for exactly what you said with the pitchers, and even a pitcher that's not mentioned here that I wrote about recently at Knock. This was a really interesting season to kind of dive in. One of my favorite stories probably from this spring is diving in and talking about why so many young pitchers are throwing as fast as they are these days. And it's a lot of guys that are coming back next year that we can watch. We got to mention Karn City and win the District 9 championship, obviously, making the state tournament there. Really fun season of baseball to cover here.
Michael Hans, I'll never this even back as early as like late March, early April, and we were taking games. I mean, we had not been out to see Freeport at that point, but we were getting their scores from their head coach Ed Carr, and Michael Hans would be 2 for 3 with 3 RBIs. The next night 2 for 2 with 2 RBI. It was like every single night. So when I saw his numbers. You said he hit what?
Close 646.
646. I honestly wasn't surprised when I saw that average for his season because I was like, man, every time we took a game from them, and he set in games pretty regularly.
Yeah.
It was like the kid was multi-hits and multi-RBI. It seemed like every single game. I have no problem with Pyda getting player of the year. As you said, he did excel. He did it at the 6A level, and it helped Seneca Valley win their first Whitfield championship in 11 years. But Michael Hans, he's a senior. Did you find? Is he going to college?
Yeah. I did not find any information on that.
Okay.
No.
I'll tell you what. If he is going to college, you see somebody excel that well at the Whitfield level. Now it is 3A. If he is going to school, I'd be interested to see how excelling at 3A in the Whitfield translates to the college game.
Yeah.
How long would it take him to make that transition? Obviously, if he's going to college, he's going to be facing stiffer pitching. But, yeah, great season by Freeport, and congratulations to Pyda on Player of the Year. I think he deserves it. Absolutely.
My last thought on that is, like, I used to put together leaderboards in Cumberland County for baseball and softball. So you had your top 10 batting averages, and softball players almost always had higher batting averages. And it wasn't uncommon to see multiple kids with more than 500 batting average that were regulars in the lineup. Baseball, I rarely ever saw someone approach 500, and this is a kid who hit a softball leading 646. Like, that would lead most counties in softball batting average. So it was a tough decision on that front. Over to boys lacrosse. Shouldn't come as much of a surprise that we had a Planet named Player of the Year. I pretty much think you have to pencil one in at the start of every season. There might be a law about it at this point. Mars, a senior attacker. Ben Bowser, Player of the Year. All-around talent. Team voted him MVP. Could do a little bit of everything, score, defend, distribute to his teammates. First team included Seneca Valley's Grant Adams, Ethan Bolvin, Butler's Brock Collins, Mars's Ian Coulter, Seneca Valley's Colton Garner. There's a lot of Coltons. Freeport's Colton Mellish, Mars's Jack Mueller, Butler's Preston Simcoe, Mars's Luke Sprang, and Mars's Jack Tersch. One note on this, from what I could see on social media, Simcoe is now going to North Catholic. He has shown some videos on Twitter of him practicing with the football team. So next year we will be talking about him as a Trojan. Bowser, like I said, named team MVP. He finishes 11th all-time in career points for the program with 161. I don't want to call what Mars had this year as a disappointing season. They were knocked out in states earlier than they had been in several years. This has been a dynasty, and this program has done things that Western Pennsylvania has not seen. All runs must end at some point. Bowser has been at the center of a good chunk of this dynasty. If they are to continue it, they will find new talent beyond him, and they do have some young talent that should be coming back. But one heck of a career for one of the program's best ever players, deservedly getting Player of the Year. And the last note that I have from this is both Mars teams, and we'll get to the girls' side in a moment, are losing 4-year starting goalies.
Yeah,
that's if there's one big question mark. If we were doing question of the year going into the season next year for all our lacrosse programs, it's going to be for Mars. What do you do at goalie? Sprang is the program record holder in saves with 267. That's big shoes to fill.
Yeah.
Thoughts?
Well, regarding the, obviously with losing elite players, and you're looking to, okay, who do we have moving up that can fill these roles? Mars's youth program, like the levels leading up to varsity, it is so incredibly strong, because I remember there was a time when their top varsity players were guys like Mike Doyle, Austin Cote, Enzo Greco, who's now at Penn State, his brother John in goal. And this year it was Ben Bowser, Jack Turch, who made our all-star team, Ian Coulter, Luke Sprang, the goalie. It seems like I don't want to downplay what kids are able to do for the varsity team down there, but when they do graduate and they leave, and you're saying, okay, how are they going to be able to replace these guys? There's kids that have performed at an elite level, in 7th grade, 8th grade, and they just move up and they plug them in. And one thing I do want to point out as well, Bob Marcoux, great coach, obviously, has a great supporting staff with the assistants down there. Mm-hmm. We had Abby Latona on here a few weeks ago for the girls lacrosse team. She's the head coach. Her husband, Steven, is an assistant coach down there. They have a guy named Matt Gruss, who is a defensive coordinator for him. When you combine really good coaching with talent, incredibly talented players, this is what you get. And you said that the run kind of ended for Mars this year. In terms of making the state championship, it ended. They lost in the state quarterfinals. They do have one impressive run still going, and that's 9 straight Whitfield championships.
Yep.
That's they'll carry in the next season. But, yeah, just next batch of kids. I mean, it just plug them in, see what they do, and for Mars, it usually turns into something big.
The Duke of Whitfield boys lacrosse.
Yeah, Ben Bowser, my thoughts on it was Ben Bowser isn't your typical player of the year.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I remember when I talked to them as they're making that state playoff run, he's not like a flashy player. He's more of a player that gets dirty.
And all of his stats, he's like 3rd on the team, 4th on the team. He's rarely the leader in anything.
Yeah, and note on Preston Simcoe, I took a look. His brother also went to a private school at Shadyside Academy. He was at Davidson. He entered the transfer portal, it looks like. But he was recently at the Pitt football 7-on-7 with North Catholic. They won the championship there, and that'll be something to look forward to during the football season, being that they still have Joey Felitsky there, quarterback. So
that's going to be there are other starting receivers back too,
I'm pretty
right?
sure, yeah.
Yeah, okay, that's going to be a decent offense to watch. Girls lacrosse. Like I said, there was a Mars sweep. Senior goalie Ella Roche. So here's the goalie comment here. She's another 4-year starter. Heck of a core coming back on offense for this team, but her absence is going to be the biggest question mark. Who replaces her, and how good are they going to be? Because she has been a rock on that team for a few years. First team includes a bunch of other planets. Katie Blake. Let me see. I'm skipping through some names here. Haley Long, the McGrath twins, Anna and Tess. That's a really good offense and midfield that they have there. All 4 of them, I think, were their leading scorers. Freeport's Ava Dreyer and Macy Edwards are on the team. Butler's Taryn Hilofsky, the one who's on the U20 German national team last year, with teammate Riley Hurley and Melina McElroy. Pretty decent team on that side. I mentioned Hilofsky a second ago, Germany U20 team. I'd say watch for her if we're putting early betting odds on player of the year next year to be in that MVP conversation for this time in the year. She's going to the Lenore Ryan University already. She's already committed. obviously on a national team is nothing to sneeze at. Really good player. I think like 41 goals or something like that this season for Butler. Thoughts, Derek?
Anna and Tess McGrath, I believe, are transplants from Texas. I think that's where they came from. California. Well, Texas, California. They're both big states.
Close.
Yeah, Dallas, Los Angeles, whatever.
Tomato.
I think they moved here prior to the previous school year. So I believe this was their second year on the lacrosse team. And I believe they're both back.
Yes,
I believe
they're
so.
juniors.
So there's another case where, Ella Roach leaves incredibly huge shoes to fill. Not just, on what she was able to do physically in net with all the saves and, the clears that she took part in with the defense. But Abby Latona told me that she also has the intangibles that not every kid who's physically talented are going to be able to bring to the table. The leadership qualities, the way she was able to relate to her teammates. I don't think that can be downplayed, and I don't think you could just take a kid who does well in practice, or maybe they did well at the lower levels in goal, and just plug them in and expect her to be Ella Roach. She's definitely going to leave a big hole for that team to fill, but with players like Anna and Tess McGrath coming back, just like we talked about with Emerson Jones with Knox softball, if you're losing a lot, as Mars lacrosse is, you look around and say, okay, well, what are our known commodities, and how can we build around that? And I think the McGrath twins are two girls that are definitely going to be part of that foundation moving forward for them.
Yeah.
And Holowski is a player that we've known about for a few years now. I think as a freshman, she was part of the German national team. So,
as well? Okay.
Yeah, she's someone that it seems like she should be gone by now, but she'll only be, I think, a junior next year, right? Maybe?
Senior.
Yep. Time flies.
One last note on the Mars core that's coming back. Blake is a sophomore. She had 62 goals this year. Long is also a sophomore. She had 61 goals this year. Anna had 54 goals and is a junior, and Tess had 64 goals and is also a junior.
Wow.
That's a lot of fire.
So Katie Blake's back next year.
Yep.
I didn't realize that. I actually made her athlete of the week. I actually made her athlete of the week back in May. I didn't realize she was coming back. And Haley Long, she, as you mentioned, she's one of their top players as well. So just find somebody to stop the ball from going into your net. It looks like they're going to have no shortage of players being able to score. So
yeah, if you can hold a team to like 9 goals, Mars should be able to score 10 most nights with that roster.
One thing I do want to point one more thing out about on both the boys and girls lacrosse side. Mars is clearly the best team in the county. I mean, it's not even close. Who's going to be the team that kind of steps up and closes that gap? Because you got Mars boys here, and nobody else in the county is close to them. You got teams that knock Freeport, Butler, Seneca Valley. Same with girls. Like to see Butler girls lacrosse made the playoffs this year. I covered their playoff loss at Penn Trafford. They had a great first half, kind of collapsed in the second half, and that's where their season ended. But when are we going to see another team kind of step up their level of play on the lacrosse field? We'll find out. I'm sure it's going to happen at some point.
Brendan, I didn't stump Derek last week. I gave him probably a middle-of-the-road question.
I hate that adds to his total, though, because then I fall behind further. Anyways, I'm about to make up some ground here.
Do it.
Derek, there have been 3 players traded between the Steelers and the Dolphins over the past 35 years. Who are those players?
Topical.
Does that include today?
Yes.
So you get a freebie.
So wait a minute. You're saying 3 players traded between them. Well, there's 2 today, right?
Yeah.
Are you saying 3 Steelers sent to Miami or received from Miami?
Between the teams.
Well, there was 3 traded today.
Shut up.
That's the whole point. Honestly, I can't remember who the tight end. His name's like Juju, Jonu, Hobo. I don't know. Micah Fitzpatrick, Jalen Ramsey, and Jonahulu Abalulu.
Tell me his name.
I don't know. I saw it on Twitter like for a split second. Minka Fitzpatrick and Jalen Ramsey are the names I recognize.
You got them. Yes.
Julu, Jahunu, Jonu.
Jonu.
Yes.
Do you know
What's his last
do you know
name?
his last name? It's a very basic last name.
Jones Smith.
There you go. Damn it.
Did we give it to him?
I thought I'd sneak that over his head. You had to say something.
I guess it's only fair
think you
because John
jinxed
basically
yourself.
saved my butt.
22 and 18.
I need to get you into my meditation app. Because I don't know what I want, but 22 and 18.
Some people would call
Brendan's
that
not happy.
mediocre, but I'd kill if the Pirates are 4 games over 500.
Today's one of those
now.
days where I've not eaten yet. So
Why do you do
Happens
that?
far too often.
Why
on
do you
Mondays.
do that to yourself? You know what?
well, I came back. We didn't get to go shopping yesterday because we went to the fair. So there's like no food in the house.
How was the fair?
I have fun at the fair every year. There's a lot of interesting people. We brought Bailey's younger sister and her friend. They won one of those inflatable hammers and an inflatable baseball bat at the games. And I was walking through the fair just getting pounded on the whole day. So I'm just walking through.
Good
I
times.
spent $10 on 3 balls. It was like break the glass balls or whatever. And I hit the glass balls, but I didn't break them. Welcome to Me on Butler, our weekly segment where we talk about something outside of Butler County sports, whether that be professionally or collegiately. I can remember a time where I would watch the Steelers sit idle in free agency and with trades. Someone would come available. They wouldn't even be in the conversation to trade for them. I pulled it up here. I forgot his name, actually, but I remember in high school getting excited because they signed Ladarius Green in free agency. You remember him, the guy who hurt his back or neck or whatever and played like 4 games. He
caught a pass.
He was supposed to be like the next big like weapon for Ben Roethlisberger, but those days are gone.
Eric Ebron.
If this offseason is any indicator, those days, whether Omar Khan has a plan or doesn't, seems to be much different these days. So if you could bring me to that, Derek, I know that the Steelers traditionally haven't been a team that trades for players or signs players in free agency. What has the change been like for you? And you're an outsider. The Eagles have been a team that goes after people. They
Wheels
signed
and deals.
Michael Vick. What are your thoughts on today's trade, and what are your thoughts on how the dynamic is changing within the Steelers franchise?
Who's first?
You.
Okay. I love what Minka did for the Steelers. My lasting memory, and he made a lot of good plays for him, but his first year, I know you'll remember this game. They played the Colts in like late October. At that point, Mason Rudolph was the quarterback for the Steelers. They were kind of, right around 500, and they were playing the Colts. I think the Colts were already up like 3-0 or 7-0. Brian Hoyer, I believe, was the quarterback for the Colts that day. I think it was Brian Hoyer. And the Colts are getting ready to go in for a touchdown, and he throws a pass picked off by Minka at the goal line and returned like 100 yards for a touchdown. Steelers ended up winning that game. Adam Vinatieri, who was like 57 years old that day, missed a field goal at the end of the game really bad. Like, it was like it went this way instead
Can you
of going
imagine?
straight.
You watched that game, I'm guessing.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? I was listening to that game. We went to Washington, D.C. for a journalism conference in college, and we're driving back. We had it on the radio. It's like cutting out every few seconds. We heard the Minka interception return, which I went crazy. When Vinatieri missed that field goal, I went insane. I was so happy.
I'm sure he did. That was the biggest, the play that will stick out the most for me from Minka. But my point, and the point I want to get to is, I also know that last year when they collapsed, and it was the whole team. I know they didn't play well on offense, and the defense just, that playoff game against Baltimore was embarrassing, and T.J. Watt was part of that. Minka was part of that. So the whole thing about, how are they going to replace this guy? Hey, he was on the field last year when they had one of the worst playoff game performances by a defense I've ever seen them play. And so, thanks for the memories. Go back to Miami. And I know Jalen Ramsey, I'm not completely up like you are on like the top players in the NFL right now. Honestly, I'm not. I think you know that. I could tell you who started at free safety for the Chiefs in 1983, but Jalen Ramsey is a name I recognize. I mean, he's like, other than Steelers, I could probably name you maybe 35 players in the NFL now, and he's one of them.
Jalen Ramsey,
3-time All-Pro.
A guy whose attitude is the type of attitude I like from a football player. He loves to talk. I think it's funny that now Aaron Rodgers, who provided probably the worst Steelers loss in my life, and Jalen Ramsey, who provided the second worst Steelers loss of my life in that wild card game, are now on the team. They can do right by me and win us a championship.
The turns have tabled.
Yeah, but when I saw that, it was so they trade. I see the notification come up because I have all the notifications on my phone. I'm scrolling through my phone, waking up in bed, and I see Ramsey gets traded. I'm like, oh, sick. I pull it down to Steelers. Like, oh, cool. I heard this might happen. Didn't think it was going to. I was like, nice. I'm talking to my friends. What do you think they traded for him? Blah, blah, blah. I know that the third round is like gold to them. They're not getting rid of those. So I was like, probably like a fifth rounder. Like, that's what it sounded like from what guy Mike Florio was talking about and stuff. And then I'm in the bathroom a few minutes later, standing up, like about to brush my teeth, and I see Adam Schefter tweet, Minka Fitzpatrick is going to Miami. And the deal's like, this has to be a fake account. I tapped on it. I was like, I can't say what I said. And when I texted my friends, like, that's insane. I mean, if you think it's his fault that the defense was bad last year, he hasn't produced in 2 years now. I think he's had 1 interception over the past 2 years. He had 5 his first season here. Maybe you think that he's not as effective as he was before. They got Juan Thornhill, who Cleveland let go of, so maybe he's not that great. You don't know.
I guess my final point would be if he is as good as he was a few years ago, and I know defense is a combination of 11 guys playing, but I just they played so horrible at the end of last year. Not just the playoff game, but leading up to that.
Did it ever frustrate you, like watching free agency or like waiting for them to trade for someone they never did?
I honestly, no.
You never got annoyed by that?
No.
Usually, when you win free agency, you lose the season. Like, they're
like the dream team. Is that what you're talking about?
The redeem team.
The Packers and Steelers have been good for so long, in part because when they enter free agency, it's either to bolster the back end of the roster or they occasionally will take a swing at someone, but it's occasional. The teams that try to build their team through free agency, it usually doesn't work. The Eagles were a little bit of an exception, but Saquon Barkley is the random unicorn that gets into free agency that, one, still needs to hit because, I mean, he was a 27-year-old running back coming off, a grueling 5 years with the Giants on a bad turf with a bad team, and had seen a lot of action at Penn State too. Usually you don't see those guys age very well past, once they hit free agency. Steelers have been good for a long time because they don't do anything crazy. So I still think that this kind of fits a little bit. Omar Khan hasn't gone out and swung any sort of really big deal, and Aaron Rodgers seems like this glamour signing, but it's a glamour signing by name only. It's not by talent. He hasn't been the Aaron Rodgers that we remember him as for
You just wait until he throws 55 touchdowns this year.
I mean, if he does, then it's going to be one of the best bargain signings in recent memory, but his recent play suggests that you're getting a game manager who should at least keep the floor at a certain point, except for like the 1 or 2 games a year where he's going to throw like 2 or 3 interceptions and cost the game. It happens with him. But you're keeping the floor at a certain standard. And this is the kind of move here with Fitzpatrick that you know what he is. He hasn't been as productive as his contract was worth. Shuffle the defense, see if you can bring in someone else who's going to fit a little bit better. What you're bringing back in Jalen Ramsey is a 30-year-old defensive back who should still be productive, but 30-year-old defensive backs don't typically age well for too much longer. You're not getting someone back who's a potential star. I think actually the secret to this is Jonnu Smith. You bring back a tight end 2 to pair with Freiermuth, who gives you a little bit more weaponry for a quarterback who really likes throwing to his tight ends, has done that his entire career, and it's a backup in case Freiermuth gets injured. Jonnu Smith's a solid tight end. He's not great, but that is a pretty good number 2 for most teams.
Juju Honolulu?
I'd be willing to bet my life that Aaron Rodgers does not throw 55 touchdowns this year.
Well, I mean, yeah.
The point.
I bet your life too that he doesn't.
The point of getting Jonnu Smith, I think they're going to run 3 tight ends all the time now. They're not going after. I don't think they're going after. They could. I don't think they're going after receiver 2. I don't think they're going to have the money to go out and get someone that would be worth going out and getting. You're going to see a lot of Jalen Warren, Caleb Johnson,
I'm totally fine with that.
Kenny Gainwell this year.
Hey,
One of those won a Super Bowl.
Run the ball.
W. That's what I'm concerned with.
Derek is excited for 13-9 football games to be back.
DK Metcalf.
Absolutely. I'd rather lose games 13 than. I'd
13-9.
rather win games 13-9 than lose 35-31. So.
DK Metcalf and Jalen Ramsey. There's highlight tapes all over Twitter that they don't like each other because they matched up again when Ramsey was with Los Angeles and Ramsey was with Los Angeles and Metcalf was with Seattle. So practices might end up being a little fun.
You know who also didn't like each other? Chuck Noll and Terry Bradshaw. 4 rings. Next.
All right, let's finish out these teams.
Boom, roasted.
Ready?
Dive in.
Our final segment here is the tennis and boys volleyball on a roll here. So the boys volleyball will go first. The player of the year was Seneca Valley's Jordan Hoover, a senior who was a first-team all-section and all-WPIAL honoree. Following him were first-teamers Butler outside hitter, defensive specialist Mason Anderson. He led the Golden Tornado in passes to target, digs, and had a .290 kill percentage. He was first-team all-section, second-team all-WPIAL. Seneca Valley's setter Abhik Nelakil. First-team all-section all-WPIAL. I didn't want to mess that up. North Catholic's outside hitter Drew Palmer. He averaged 16 kills per match and was first team for both all-section and all-WPIAL. Mars outside hitter Derek Pyda, who we've talked about on here before, senior. He is the program's all-time kills leader, first team in all-section all-WPIAL. And his teammate Kyler Robinson, setter. He moved around this year for Mars, and he's also an all-time leader in assists there. And he was first team section all-WPIAL. You got out to cover some teams this year. What do you think first, Eric?
Well, just kind of with like baseball, where we were talking about Pekatoski with Seneca Valley, and he was kind of it was up for a while. It was up in the air between him and Michael Hands. I have no problem with Pekatoski being named player of the year there, and I have no problem with Jordan Hoover being named player of the year here, even though his teammate Abhik Nelakil had an incredible season as a setter. 941 assists. Just to give you an idea,
a ridiculous number.
Kyler Robinson set Mars's career assist record, with 2,000.
Yeah.
Abhik Nelakil for Seneca Valley had 941.
A good year is 400 to 500. Good year, really good year.
Wow, that's crazy.
Like, I think Kyler had around that number this year.
Crazy. Anyway,
900.
Brett Poirier, the coach for Seneca Valley. I asked him. I said, I know you got two really good players. I mean, they had a pretty good roster, but obviously their top 2 players were Abhik and Jordan. And he actually said that Abhik was actually their best. He contributed the most in terms of stats as far as different stat categories. But Jordan Hoover, the reason we went with him is because obviously he had a lot of kills this year, but he also had 87 blocks. And Brett Poirier told me that as good as Jordan is offensively with all the kills, he's just as good defensively. 87 kills is a lot of kills.
87 digs, yeah, that's a ton.
I'm sorry,
blocks.
Blocks.
Yeah, we both
87 block, yeah. Kills, he was...
We got there.
Settle on one.
But 87 blocks to go with a guy that can drop with no problem 20, 25 kills in one night. That put me over the top as far as Jordan Hoover goes. But Abhik had a great year. Kyler Robinson, as I mentioned, ended his career with 2,000 assists to break Mars's all-time record. His teammate Derek Pyda, over 900 kills to be Mars's all-time kills leader, and Mason Anderson, who kind of did a little bit of everything this year for Butler. I think we got a pretty good first team here.
Yeah, this volleyball team makes a ton of sense. I think out of all of them, all the ones that we did, I'd see like no. This just is one of those easy ones. It goes trunk.
Oh, and Drew Palmer at North Catholic. You mentioned him. 16 kills per match. He's got an older sister who was a star volleyball player for the girls team about 5-6 years ago, Abby Palmer. And little brother Drew did his sister proud. He's going to Northern Kentucky to play volleyball. Apparently, they're just starting their program up out there.
Oh, really?
I think Drew Palmer's a good kind of centerpiece to bring in. Yeah. Good first-team volleyballs.
You ever hear about the volleyball playing sports writer? Derek Pyda.
Go back on vacation.
Hey, if you give me permission.
I'll
Next
drop.
up, we saved the best for last here.
I'm good at the dink kills.
We saved the best for last with boys tennis all-stars. The player of the year was North Catholic's Justin Garvey. He is a junior. He won the silver in the Whitfield Class 2A singles tournament after winning the section singles crown. Only Butler County tennis athlete to reach states. Garvey finished with a 20-6 record and helped North Catholic win Whitfields as a team and reach Pyda quarterfinals. Following him as first teamers are Butler's Andrew Bocci, a senior. He served as the team's top singles player. Reached consecutive Whitfield Class 3A doubles tournaments. North Catholic's Alex Lopez Faubert. Is that how you say it? Faubert.
Sounds good to me.
He's a senior. He reached the Whitfield doubles tournament and finished 17-5. Mars's Ethan Palmer and Cal Johnson. Palmer's a senior. Johnson's a junior. Only county pair to reach a Whitfield Class 3A doubles tournament. Both made section tournaments as solo performers. Palmer won the Midwestern Athletic Conference Tournament Singles 1 title. It's a mouthful. Johnson won the Singles 2 title at the same event. And finally, North Catholic's Alex Weber, a junior. He qualified for Whitfield Class 2A singles tournament, won the Whitfield section bronze in doubles with Lopez Faubert, and also reached Whitfield doubles quarterfinals. That was a lot to say there. Derek, what do you take away?
What I take away from this is the fact that the three North Catholic tennis players you mentioned there, Alex Weber, Alex Lopez Faubert, and Justin Garvey, they led North Catholic to the program's first ever Whitfield title. You know, I mean, that's the girls won the Whitfield team championship back in, I guess that would have been October, and now the boys turned around and did the same thing a few weeks ago. So not only did these guys do well individually, but they helped the team success, which is like the best of both worlds. So congratulations to North Catholic and the players that made our first team on boys tennis.
Do you know who sings the best of both worlds?
Unfortunately, I do, and I don't want to admit it.
Drake.
Hannah Montana.
Oh, well, Drake, Hannah Montana, California, Texas.
Mallory gets into kicks of watching Hannah Montana.
Hey,
on,
pretty
just
cool by
on
me.
loop, and I'll walk in and the theme song starts playing, and it's just that 4 times in a day, and by the end of the day, I'm just like, it's stuck in my head.
Can I get your best yee doggy?
No, you cannot.
Boys tennis, Jim.
The other thing to mention with North Catholic too was it was their deepest run in the state quarterfinals as well. Just a banner year for all North Catholic tennis, really, and a good chunk of the roster, especially on the girls' side, coming back. So we could be dealing with something similar for the next 12 months too, with those teams making deep runs to Whitfield and state playoffs. I don't want to rehash too much of what we talked about with this a couple weeks ago, but obviously Andrew Bocci was in the running there for Player of the Year too, playing in 3A. He's been good for 4 years for that program. But Garvey just being able to have a little extra postseason success and lead that team on the postseason team runs that they did, kind of took the cake there.
One thing we got to mention here is just this past weekend, the Cobra, Pittsburgh Pirates legend Dave Parker passed away. Just a couple numbers real quick to throw out there. 339 career home runs, 1978 NL MVP award winner, and obviously a huge part of that 79 Pirates team. We Are Family that won the 79 series over Baltimore. The ironic thing is a lot of people think that he should have been taken into the Hall of Fame a long time ago. Mm-hmm. He finally got voted in this year, and a month before he goes in, he passes away. At least he knew he was going in, but he obviously is not going to get the distinction of being able to get up in front of the crowd there at Cooperstown and give his Hall of Fame speech. But at least he did know that he had made it. He was going in.
Yeah, he suffered from Parkinson's for 13 years? I think he was diagnosed in 2012.
He was in poor health for a while.
Yeah, I was at the 40th anniversary game for that family championship, and he was there along with several others, and they're showing their age, obviously in their 70s. But what an ovation! PNC doesn't have a lot of people show up anymore, but that was a night where people came out. They knew what they were celebrating. That was a pretty cool moment to see. As someone who knows nothing about that team, basically, that was 6 years ago. They're on 46th year anniversary of that championship.
Parker played for several other teams after leaving Pittsburgh: the Reds, the Brewers, the A's. I think he had a cup of coffee with the Blue Jays, but most of his great years, the Pirates got his great years. 78 NL MVP, helped them win a World Series. Pittsburgh Pirates legend, R.I.P. Dave Parker, the Cobra.
And next week, our year in review. See everyone later.
See ya. We encourage you to subscribe to the Butler Eagle YouTube channel and Apple or Spotify podcasts or your favorite podcast platform. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Alter Eagle Podcast and at Butler Eagle News. Goodbye.